Is it working? Okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Last Years of Merlin reading with me, Hannah. This is chapter 12. We just started part 2. And in our last chapter, Emrys was aboard his raft and then was washed off. So here we go. Chapter 12, Fallen Warrior. Not swaying anymore. Not drowning anymore. Once again, I awoke to find myself on an unknown shore. The same sound of surf filled my ears. The same brackish taste soured my mouth. The same feeling of dread twisted my stomach. Were the torments of my years in Gwynedd just a dream? A terrible, twisted dream? I knew the answer, even before my sand-crusted fingers touched my scarred cheeks, my useless eyes, and the Galator dangling from my neck. Gwynedd had been real as the strange, potent smell that spiced the air of this place, wherever this place may be. I rolled onto my side, crunching a shell under my hip. Sitting up, I drank in the air. Sweet as a summer meadow it tasted, but with an edge to it, sharper, truer. While I could hear the waves sloshing and slapping not far away, I could not view them with my second sight. That was not because of my poor vision, however. The waves lay hidden behind a rolling wall of mist so thick that it obscured everything beyond. Within the wall of mist, curious shapes seemed to coalesce, hold together for a few seconds, then vanish. I saw something like a great archway with a door swinging closed. As it melted away, it was replaced by a spiked tail big enough for a dragon. Then, as I watched, the tail transformed into an enormous head with a bulbous nose. Like a giant made of mist, it turned slowly toward me, moving its mouth as if to speak, before dissolving into the shifting clouds. Turning my stiff back, I looked around. This beach, unlike the north coast of Gwynedd, formed a gentle meeting of land and sea. No piles of jagged rocks littered the coast, only shells of pink and purple and white strewn over the fine-grained sand. Next to my foot, a leafy vine crawled across the beach like a shiny green snake. Pink, purple, green. My heart leaped. I could sense colors. Not so well as my memories before the fire, perhaps, but much better than before the sea tore my raft to shreds. But wait, that could not be true. As I examined my own skin and then the folds of my tunic, I knew that they were no more brightly colored than before. With a glance back at the beach, I understood. It was not that I could see any better. It was that this landscape simply radiated color. The shells, the shining leaves, even the sand of this place felt brighter and deeper somehow. If they seemed this vivid with only my second sight, how vivid would they be if I had eyes that could truly see? I picked up one of the spiral-shaped shells. Purple lines wound around its body of gleaming white. It felt comfortable in my hand, like one friend meeting another. I put the shell to my ear, expecting to hear the watery sound within its chambers. Instead, I heard a strange, breathy sound, like the voice of someone far away, whispering to me in a language I could not understand, trying to tell me something. I caught my breath. Lowering the shell, I peered into its chamber. It seemed ordinary enough. I must have just imagined it. Again, I brought it to my ear. The voice again, this time clearer than before. In spite of myself, I thought I heard it say, "Beware, beware." Quickly, I put down the shell. My palms felt sweaty, my stomach knotted. I stood up. My legs, arms, and back ached with stiffness. I glanced down at the shell, then shook my head. Seawater in my ears, maybe that was it. Water. I must find fresh water. If only I could find some to drink, I would feel more alive. I climbed to the ridge of a dune arching above the beach. What I saw took my breath away. A dense forest, where colorful birds flitted among the spires of towering trees, stretched far to the west. Near the horizon rose waves of misty hills, where the green of the forest deepened into blue. Between here and there, a lush valley unfurled as soft as a carpet. Sunlit streams cascaded out of the woods and over the meadows, merging into a great river that rushed toward the sea. In the distance, more trees grew, though in orderly rows that seemed less wild than the forest, more like an orchard that someone had planted long ago. I was about to descend into the valley and quench my thirst when something else caught my attention. Although I could see only a little of the eastern bank of the river, it seemed far less green than the other side. Rather, it looked brownish-red, the color of dried leaves, or rust. At first it gave me an unsettled feeling, but then I realized that it was probably just some strange sort of vegetation, or perhaps a trick of the light, caused by the mass of dark clouds hovering over the eastern horizon. Feeling my parched throat, I turned back to the verdant valley and forest behind me. Time for that drink. Then I would investigate the mist-shrouded island, if it indeed was an island. Although I could not quite put my finger on it, something about this place made me want to stay and explore, despite the strange experience with the shell. It might have been the vibrant colors, or it might have been the simple fact that I had trusted in the waves and they had brought me here. Whatever the reason, I would remain for a while, but only for a while. If I did not discover any clues to my past, I would promptly leave. I would build myself another boat, sturdier than the last, and continue my quest. I started down the dune. The sand soon gave way to grasses, their slender stalks bowing in the fragrant breeze. Though still stiff from my voyage, I gathered speed as I descended. Soon I was running across the open field. Feeling the wind in my face, I realized that this was the first time I had run since leaving Caer Mirden. Approaching a stream of bright water, I knelt by the mossy stones along its border. Immediately I immersed my whole head in it. The cold, clear water slapped my skin, shocking me no less than the colors and smells of this land had first shocked me. I swallowed enough to feel bloated, belched, and then swallowed some more. Satisfied at last, I leaned on my elbow, now drinking not the water, but the crisp, spicy air. Grasses tickled my chin. With so much tall grass surrounding me, anyone passing near might have thought me just a brown log by the stream bed. Listening to the subtle rustling of stems rubbing together, the rising and falling of wind in the forest, the steady dancing of the stream, a long-legged beetle, red in hue, crawled lazily across the folds of my tunic. A sudden whoosh of air just above my head jolted me out of my reverie. Whatever it was had flashed past with the speed of an arrow, so fast that I had no idea what it could have been. Cautiously, I lifted myself higher. My second sight detected some movement in the grass downstream. I rose to my feet. A piercing whistle erupted from the grass, followed by hissing and snarling. The angry sounds swelled as I approached. A few steps later, I halted, amazed. The largest rat I had ever seen, as thick as my own thigh, with powerful legs and teeth as sharp as dagger points, wrestled before me. Its adversary was a small hawk with a banded brown tail and gray back. A merlin. Despite the fact that the rat was at least 3 times the bird's size, they appeared evenly matched. Furiously they battled. The merlin's strong talons clung tight to the back of the rat's neck. The rat writhed, trying to bite and claw its enemy's head, bashing the bird against the ground. But the bird's courage outweighed its compact body, for it only screeched and dug its talons deeper, drawing blood from the rat's tough hide. Feathers flew as blood splattered the grass. Clawing, biting, and snarling, they tumbled over each other in a wild frenzy. This fight might have continued for some time with no victor, except that another rat emerged from a thicket by the stream. Whether out of loyalty to its kind, or more likely, desire for some easy prey, it joined in the fray. Clamping its jaws on one of the merlin's wing, it tore at the bird ferociously. The merlin shrieked in pain, but somehow held on. The second rat, its face ripped by the bird's beak, released its grip and circled around to the other side. Meanwhile, the merlin's torn wing hung loose at its side, flapping uselessly, while one of its talons came loose. Sensing victory at hand, the second rat brushed away some feathers caught in its teeth. Its legs tensed as it ready to pounce on the weakened bird. At that instant, I ran forward and kicked the second rat in the chest, so hard that it rolled into the thicket. Seeing this, The first rat stopped its thrashing, glaring at me with blood-red eyes. With a violent shake, it threw the merlin to the grass. The bird lay on its back, too weak to move. The rat hissed shrilly. I took a step closer. Then I raised my hand as if to strike. The rat, apparently tired of battling for the moment, turned and slipped away through the blades of grass. I stooped to examine the merlin. Although its eyes, 2 dots of black encircled in yellow, remained barely half open, they watched me intensely. As I reached for the bird, it whistled and lashed out at me with one of its talons, slashing the skin of my wrist. "What are you doing, fool bird?" I yelped, sucking the bloody wrist. "I'm trying to help you, not hurt you." Again, I reached toward the fallen warrior. Again, the bird whistled and struck me with its talon. Enough of this! Shaking my head in dismay, I rose to leave. As I left the spot, I glanced one more time at the merlin. Its eyes had finally closed. It lay there on the grass, shivering. I took a deep breath and returned. Cautiously, I picked up the bird, avoiding the talons in case it suddenly came alive again. I held the warm, feathered body in my hand, wondering that any creature so fierce could also feel so soft. Stroking the injured wing, I could tell that, while skin and muscles had been shredded, no bones had been broken. I reached into the satchel that Bronwyn had given me, removed a pinch of the dried herbs, and added this to a few drops of water from the stream. Using the edge of my tunic, I cleaned the gashes made by the teeth of the rat. There were several deep ones, especially along the wing's upper edge. Carefully, I applied the herbs as a poultice. The merlin stiffened and opened an eye. This time, however, it did not slash at me. Apparently too weak even to whistle, it could only watch me warily. When I had finished, I held the small bird and wondered what to do next. Leave it here by the stream? No, the rats would surely return and finish their work. Take it with me? No, I had no need for a passenger, certainly not one so dangerous. Spotting an oak with wide branches at the edge of the woods, an idea came to me. I put down the bird long enough to pull up some grasses and twigs and twist them together into a rough-hewn nest. Gathering both the nest and the bird under my arm, I climbed to a low branch that wore a rich coat of moss. I wedged the nest into place where the branch joined the trunk, then placed the helpless bird within. I looked into the defiant yellow-rimmed eyes for a moment, then I climbed down and strode into the forest. Okie dokie! So that was chapter 12, and then tomorrow we will read chapter 11, entitled A Bundle of Leaves. Alright, see you at 9 p.m. Pacific time. Bye!